Virgo, don't ignore the signs. The universe's silent warning about someone close to you. Have you ever had that feeling of looking at someone you love in a normal conversation, in a completely banal moment, and something inside you taking a step back? An inner silence, a kind of distance that appears without warning, for no apparent reason. Just a quiet, almost imperceptible feeling that says, something here isn't right. And you dismissed it. Of course you dismissed it, because Virgo doesn't act on gut feeling, right? Virgo needs certainty, needs proof, needs logic before drawing a conclusion. But what if I told you that this feeling wasn't a misinterpretation? That quiet moment, that step back, that inner distance you felt and immediately chose to ignore, wasn't it a weakness of judgment? It was precisely the warning the universe was trying to give you about someone close to you, and that you, with all your intelligence, with all your analytical capacity, chose to ignore it, not out of naivete, for something far more complex than that. This video is about the signs that Virgo notices before anyone else, and about the silent mechanism that makes them bury those signs deeper than anyone could imagine. It's about what happens when the most analytical sign of the zodiac uses all their precision not to see more clearly, but to protect themselves from seeing too much. If you've ever felt you knew something about someone close to you and kept quiet anyway, this video is for you, and what it reveals may be more disturbing than you expect. There's one thing people get wrong about Virgos from the start. They think Virgos don't believe in signs, that they need spreadsheets, evidence, documented proof before drawing any conclusions about someone, that the universe might be shouting and they'll be there, asking for more data. But that's not it. It never was. Virgo is probably the sign that perceives the most signs of all. From an early age, they developed an almost disconcerting ability to read patterns, a gaze that catches the small inconsistency in someone's behavior, the subtle change in tone of voice, the detail that doesn't fit with the narrative the other person is trying to construct. They see, they always have. The problem is not perception. The problem is what one does with what one has perceived. There's a laboratory inside Virgo. That's not a forced metaphor. It's an honest description of how her mind works. She collects, she catalogues, she organizes everything she observes about the people around her into carefully organized mental files, revisited and updated. Did you say something in March that contradicts what you said in October? She noticed. Did you change the subject when she asked something specific? She noticed. Did you arrive with a different energy on a Tuesday afternoon and not explain why? She noticed, and constructed at least 3 hypotheses about what it could mean. And yet, she remains quiet. Not because she's waiting for the right moment to speak. Not because she's being strategic or calculating. She remains silent because making noise about what she's perceived would make it real. And making it real means having to decide what to do with it. There's a brilliant detective inside Virgo. A detective who puts together the whole case with the evidence they've collected. Who knows, with unsettling clarity, exactly what's going on, and then closes the file, puts it in the drawer, and says to themselves, maybe I misunderstood. I'll wait a little longer. Just a little more. It's always a little more. What Virgo doesn't realize, or prefers not to realize, is that this little more isn't prudence. It's protection. It's a sophisticated way of avoiding facing the weight of what she already knows. Because knowing implies acting, and acting for Virgo implies a responsibility that she carries in a different way than other people. She doesn't act on impulse. She acts when she is certain. And since certainty is never complete enough for the internal standard she has set for herself, she postpones. And she continues collecting, and she continues observing, and she continues building the most complete dossier that no one will ever read, because she herself will never present it. There's a name for what's being kept in that drawer. There's a name for that box on top of the cupboard that everyone in the house knows is there, that nobody touches, that nobody mentions. Virgo knows the name. She constructed that name letter by letter with the precision that is her trademark. But saying the name out loud, even if only to herself, is the step she can't take. Because when you finally name what you saw, you can no longer pretend you didn't see it. And then you have to open the box. Virgo is afraid of what they will find inside. Not because I'm weak, precisely because I'm not. Virgo knows that when she truly decides to look at something, she'll see everything, every layer, every implication, every consequence. And the consequence she fears most isn't about the other person. It's about what she'll need to change in herself after the box opens. So she waits and observes and catalogues and lives with a growing weight that has no official name, but that she feels every night when the silence deepens. It was while searching for answers to this question that I found this digital book. The divine path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose is not a book about predictions or what will happen. It's about what Virgo already knows and hasn't yet allowed itself to use. It speaks directly to that part of you that perceives everything, analyzes everything, and is tired of carrying clarity without ever transforming it into real direction. It's a tool for those who already have the answers within, but are still waiting for permission to trust them. And I know you're exactly at that point right now. With that awareness still active, with that discomfort still present, that feeling that you know more than you're willing to admit about someone close to you, about a situation, about yourself within that situation. This is the moment, not tomorrow, when the feeling will cool down. Now, while it's still real, the link is in the first pinned comment. But be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. And before we continue, tell me in the comments, is there any sign you noticed about someone close to you that you've been keeping to yourself without being able to name it? You don't need to give details. Just tell me, are you still carrying that burden? Now, what happens when the signs come from the person Virgo loves most? Because here's the paradox that no one prepares Virgo to face. The analytical filter she applies to strangers, rigorous, meticulous, almost scientific, simply melts when the other person is someone she truly loves. It doesn't weaken, it melts. It becomes something completely different. With a stranger, Virgo processes a signal and draws a conclusion. With someone close, Virgo processes a signal and begins to build a defense for that person, not consciously, instinctively, as if love functioned for her as an internal instruction that says, find another explanation, this one can't be right. Imagine a translator who is completely fluent in a language, who has been translating difficult texts with clinical precision for years, and who, when they receive a text written about themselves or about someone they love, suddenly begins to doubt the translation. Did I understand correctly? This word could have another meaning. This passage could be interpreted in another way. The language hasn't changed. The competence hasn't disappeared. But the willingness to trust what one has read, that has vanished. Virgo does this with such sophistication that sometimes she herself doesn't realize she's doing it. She reviews what she saw. She revisits the memories. She reorganizes the data in a way that produces a more comfortable conclusion. Not because she's naive, but because the truth of what she perceived implies a pain she hasn't yet allowed herself to feel. And while she revises, the other person continues. The signs continue. The pattern continues, and Virgo continues accumulating, only now with an extra layer of self-questioning on top of everything. This is not blindness. It is something far more complex and, in a way, far more tragic. It is an intelligence turning against itself in the name of preserving something that perhaps no longer exists in the way it imagines it. If you've ever felt that love was leaving you more confused instead of clearer, if you've noticed that it's easier to analyze any situation in the world than those involving the person you love most. The book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Life of Purpose, was written for exactly that blind spot. It won't tell you what to feel. It will help you stop fighting what you already feel. The clarity that Virgo seeks in the whole world is waiting for them within. And this book is the map to get there without getting lost on the path of self-criticism that they themselves have built as armor. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey toward the clarity and genius you deserve. But there is a force within Virgo that is even older than analysis, older than the internal laboratory, older than the silent filing away of every perceived sign. It's loyalty. Virgo was built at some fundamental level to care, to notice what is broken and try to fix it, to see where it's lacking and fill it in, to identify where the problem lies and work quietly, methodically, without expecting recognition, until the environment around her is better than it was when she arrived. This impulse is one of Virgo's most beautiful traits, and it is, at the same time, the most sophisticated trap she can fall into. Because when the signal says step away, when the internal laboratory has produced its clearest and most painful conclusion, the caring instinct comes into direct conflict. No. This person needs me. I can fix this. I can help. If I leave, who will take care of it? And Virgo stays and reorganizes and renovates. She makes each room more beautiful, each interaction lighter, each problem more manageable. She is the architect who works with extraordinary skill, while the ground continues to give way beneath her feet. Not because she didn't see the ground giving way. She was the first to see it, but seeing the problem and deciding to solve the problem are different things. And Virgo sometimes solves the part she knows how to solve, while avoiding the part that would require a choice she's not ready to make. The cost of this doesn't appear immediately. It accumulates, slowly, in layers, like dust on surfaces that no one cleans because no one admits they're dirty. Virgo begins to get tired for no apparent reason, starts to get irritated by small things that previously went unnoticed, begins to create a subtle emotional distance, not on purpose, but as an automatic response from an overloaded system. The internal archive is full. Too many open processes, too many unresolved perceptions, too many catalogued and never resolved signs accumulating weight in the background, consuming energy that Virgo needs for other things, for herself, for what truly matters, for the choices she hasn't yet been able to make. There comes a point where waiting for more evidence stops being intelligent and becomes exhaustion, and Virgo is at that point more often than she admits, to herself and to anyone around her. What would she need to end in order to truly breathe? Not solve, not fix, end, close the process, give it a definitive name and let it rest. That's the question the universe is asking when it sends the signals. Not, what are you going to do with this person? But, what are you going to do with what you already know about yourself after everything you've seen? And this is where the script for this video finds its deepest layer. The one that few pieces of content about Virgo even come close to touching upon. The universe's silent warning about someone close to you was never just about that person. Virgo has a gift that she rarely recognizes as such. She can read other people with a depth bordering on the supernatural. But what she doesn't realize, or resists realizing, is that what she reads in others is always a reflection of what she hasn't yet been able to see clearly in herself. The person who repeats patterns that deeply bother Virgo is not just an external problem to be solved. It's a mirror. It shows Virgo where the boundaries are that she hasn't set, the requests for help she never made, the versions of herself she hid because they didn't seem useful enough, perfect enough, organized enough to present to the world. This mirror isn't cruel. It's necessary, and Virgo, of all the signs, has the most refined ability to understand what the mirror is showing, if she decides to look at it instead of being busy polishing the frame. Have you ever noticed that sometimes the person who drains you the most isn't the person with the most problems? It's the person who somehow touches on exactly where you haven't yet taken care of yourself. Who triggers something you haven't yet resolved? Who reminds you, in an unsettling way, of something you've chosen not to look at? For Virgo, the signs from the universe about someone close almost always arrive like this. Not as warnings about the other person, but as invitations for themselves. What is this presence revealing about what you accept, about what you endure, about what you believe you deserve, about the patterns you perpetuate in silence because changing would mean admitting that you knew from the beginning that something was wrong? This is the quietest warning, and the most important one. The book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Life of Purpose, touches precisely on this layer, the one that lies beneath external signs, beneath the analysis of others, beneath loyalty and care. The layer where Virgo finds itself, not the version it presents, the version it truly is when it stops analyzing and begins to feel. This encounter, when it happens, changes everything. And this book is one of the few places where Virgo can do this safely, at its own pace, without having to explain to anyone what it is processing. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey toward the clarity and genius you deserve. So what does Virgo do with all of this? With a perception that never stops, with a laboratory that never closes, with the signs she saw, catalogued, reviewed, and kept, with the weariness that accumulated in silence, with the mirror she avoided for so long. There is no simple answer, and Virgo knows better than any other sign that simple answers to complex questions are, at their core, a form of disrespect for the depth of the issue. But there is something she can start doing, something small, something that doesn't require a monumental decision, a dramatic break, a complete overnight transformation. She can stop pretending she doesn't know what she knows. There's no need to act yet. There's no need to present the dossier to anyone. There's no need to resolve, fix, close, or transform anything right now, but you can, at least for yourself, in a moment of silent honesty, stop constructing the 10th version of the explanation that makes the sign more palatable, and simply acknowledge, I saw it, I know. I've been carrying this for too long. This recognition is not weakness. It is the bravest act a Virgo can perform, because for a sign that has been taught, by life, by circumstances, by nature itself, to use intelligence as a shield, letting clarity in without immediately turning it into analysis, is a form of courage that doesn't have a pretty name, but changes everything from within. The light came on in the room. You can choose what to do now. Leave, rearrange, close the door. The options are yours. But you can no longer pretend the room doesn't exist, not after the light came on. And the light of Virgo, that silent intelligence, that perception that never sleeps, that ability to see what others don't even come close to noticing, is not a burden. It is the rarest gift that exists. A gift that, when finally turned inward with the same generosity that Virgo directs toward the world, transforms not only what she sees, but who she discovers she has always been. The universe doesn't send silent warnings to punish. It sends them to awaken. And Virgo, when it decides to truly awaken to what it already knew, doesn't need more data. It doesn't need more time. It doesn't need another review of the file. She already has everything she needs. She always has.